Hi everyone, welcome to Sunny Day Discussions. I am Sunny Day. Today I want to talk to you about Alabama. There's something wrong with Alabama. Someone needs to check on them. So, a lawsuit has been filed by a family of a deceased Alabama inmate whose body was allegedly sent home without his heart. The lawsuit opens the path for a possible class action lawsuit because more families have come forward saying that their loved ones were also returned with missing organs. In some cases, all of their organs were missing. And they were allegedly removed without the family's knowledge. So the initial complaint occurred in December of last year, 2023, and was filed on the behalf of Brandon Clay Dotson's family. The defendant is the Alabama Department of Corrections, as well as the University of Alabama at Birmingham Hersink College of Medicine. That college conducts the autopsies for the prison system. This is where it's suspected that the organs were removed and taken for educational and research purposes, which is great if you have permission to do it. The Dodson family demanded that their loved one's heart was immediately returned. However, 70 days later, authorities still can't find it. So my guess is that it was probably used for pathology lessons and is no longer in existence. At least not in its original form. Since the original filing, 4 more families have stepped forward and approached the attorney for the Dotsons, claiming that their loved ones' organs were also removed, and in some cases, like I said, all of them. The family of Kevin Moore, 43, were told that he died of a fentanyl overdose while in prison. They do not believe this, and since the majority of his organs were missing, they were left with no means of verifying his death. Kevin Moore was on the phone with his mom an hour before the prison chaplain called his mom to inform her that he had died. The Moores, and this was in Limestone Correctional Facility. Yes. The Moores funeral director called the University of Birmingham, their pathology lab, to inquire about this guy's organs. And they were told that someone could come pick it up from the funeral home. Well, unless the family wanted to donate the organs for medical research. The family declined, and they decided to go pick up the organs themselves because they didn't trust any in between. And they were handed over in a big red biohazard bag. Charlene Drake said that her incarcerated 74-year-old father, Charles Edward Singleton, was returned missing all organs except for his eyes. Now, he was even decomposing when his body was returned to his family. There was significant skin slippage. So, all inmates, if they die in prison, have to be autopsied. That's just how it is. Typically, during the process of the autopsy, organs are all removed, but prior to returning them to the family for burial, the organs are all put back into place. Obviously, this isn't happening. And it is assumed based on the number of autopsies completed by the university and the revenue they made from the prison, that dozens, if not hundreds, of families are impacted. In 2018, a group of medical students actually approached the school's medical ethics board with concerns that an alarming number of organs used in the pathology department were coming from Alabama's prisons. They were given a pat on the head, basically, from that point forward, the instructor shared fewer details about the cadavers with the students. So basically, it was just like thank you, we'll look into it, and do nothing. So, in 2023, a record number of prison deaths were recorded. There was 325 prisoners who died in the state, up from 7 people in a 9-month period in 2015. Now, this just goes to show how our system, our country, treats inmates, people who are imprisoned, as less than human. And believing this, that because they are in prison, they are not deserving of basic human rights and dignities. And once those people do their time and are released from prison and back out into general population, they still carry that stigma with them, because we have told people that everyone who goes to prison is evil and not deserving of any rights. But that's just not the case. Yeah, there's some really nasty people that go into prison, but there's also people that were put into prison for carrying a joint before weed was legalized, and still isn't legal in certain states, for being accused of something they didn't do. The violent crime rate in prisons, I can see a little stricter, rules and regulations in regards to them, but overall, they're human. They deserve to have basic human rights and basic human dignities. They are people. Now, Alabama has just ruled also that there is a class of people that have apparently more rights than prisoners do, and that class of people are embryos. The Supreme Court in Alabama has decided that an embryo, a frozen embryo, can be considered children under the state law. The decision was made in a pair of wrongful death cases brought by 3 couples who had frozen embryos destroyed when a patient got into the closet where they were kept, or facility room where they were kept, and took a tray and dropped it, basically killing the embryos, destroying them. It was an accident, but they filed a wrongful death case against the fertility clinic. And the Supreme Court justices ruled that an 1872 state law allowing parents to sue over the death of a minor child applies to all unborn children, regardless of their location. Now, quote, "Unborn children are children without exception based on developmental stage, physical location, or any other ancillary characteristics. The court has previously ruled that fetuses killed while a woman is pregnant are covered under Alabama's Wrongful Death of a Minor Act. And nothing excludes extrauterine children from the Act's coverage." All right, so according to Barbara Kalora, CEO of Resolve, the National Infertility Association, she said that the ruling is stating that a fertilized egg, which is a clump of cells, is now a person, and it really puts into question the practice of in vitro fertilization. At least one Alabama fertility clinic has already put a stop to any more procedures and any more treatments. So Dr. Paula Amato, president of the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, said that, quote, "By insisting that these very different biological entities are legally equivalent, the best state-of-the-art fertility care will be made unavailable to the people in Alabama. No healthcare provider will be willing to provide treatments if those treatments may lead to civil or criminal charges." And of course, this decision was based on religion. Showing a complete lack of understanding for medical science, Chief Justice Tom Parker said IVF will look different, but won't end in Alabama, stating it will be up to the courts to decide how IVF can be performed in a way that won't cause harm to unborn children and won't incur the wrath of an angry God. Now, quote, "Even before birth, all human beings have the image of God, and their lives cannot be destroyed without effacing his glory." He suggested that freezing embryos may no longer be allowed, and that doctors must create one embryo at a time and then implant it, no matter what the quality. That ruling just shows a complete lack of understanding about anything having to do with fertility and in vitro fertilization. The reason there are so many eggs that are implanted is to increase the chances of one of them surviving. And some people save their embryos because they're not quite ready to have children yet, or they're going through a disease that would put them and their child in danger and they want to take care of that first. There's so many different reasons why couples who struggle with fertility would want embryos to be frozen and saved for a later date. And by stating that we can no longer freeze embryos, that they have to fertilize one and then implant it, that's not how it works. What they do is they fertilize and then they monitor to make sure that it's actually going to develop and continue growing into the possibility of becoming a zygote or a fetus. And by only doing one at a time, you are minimizing the possibility of a woman who has fertility issues or her husband has fertility issues being impregnated, because it's ridiculously expensive. And if you can only do one egg at a time, they can't afford to do any more. And if that one egg does not implant and continue developing, they're shit out of luck. And now what's next? They've already said that embryos, just a cluster of goo, has personhood. What's next? Is a woman who ovulates during her period and doesn't fertilize that egg, is she going to be held liable for murder because of the potential of life? Is a man who masturbates, is he going to be held liable because of the potential for life from his semen? What is next? They're not going to stop at just this until they have full control of a woman's body and her rights to her body. And like I've said before, they don't give a damn about the children once they're born. It's only about control. They don't care about zygotes or embryos or anything like that. Otherwise, they would listen to the science. But the science doesn't coincide with their religious beliefs, so therefore the science isn't real. And that's why there is a separation of church and state. So we don't have these people who are ignorant to medical science making legislation that stop or prohibit or encourage science. It just blows my mind that these people feel like they're doing the right thing by forcing their own personal religious beliefs on the rest of the world. And they think they're righteous and they're saving lives, they're saving the children, but they're not. They're not. It's just about control. And soon they're gonna try to have even more control. Women are gonna lose even more rights. And it's a frightening time to be a woman and to have a young daughter who is just becoming an adult. I don't know where this country is going to go with that unless we can get all of these people out. But that's not possible because a lot of these people are in red states. So all those women in red states are pretty much screwed unless they stand up and realize that voting for a Republican is voting against human rights. And that's all I have for you today. So if you like what I do, like, share, subscribe, vote, no matter how big, how small, how inconsequential, your vote matters, and read everything you can get your hands on. I will see you next time.